Brenda? No, Brenda, you start.
Cheaters. Good morning, and welcome to the 61st annual Deborah Morton Convocation Ceremony. My name is Brenda Garrand, and I represent the University of New England Board of Trustees. On behalf of the entire board, I'd like to welcome the three women we will be honoring today. Their friends and family members, our former Deborah Morton Society Award recipients, the Westbrook College alumni, happy reunion, and the UNE faculty and professional staff, UNE senior leaders and trustees, and President Herbert. Thank you all for gathering to help induct our 2023 Deborah Morton Society awardees. Three women who will today join the ranks of generations of important Maine women, leaders previously inducted into this prestigious society. This year's honorees are Kathie M. Leonard, Melissa Smith, and Cynthia J. Milliken Taylor. All three of these women, in the spirit of Deborah Morton, have made lasting impacts on the state of Maine and its people. All three have achieved high distinction in their fields and are exceptional business leaders in the state. All three have inspired countless others to be the best they can be, and we are grateful for their contributions to our state. You'll be hearing much more about these amazing women shortly, but first, it is my pleasure to introduce University of New England Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Gwendolyn Mahon. Gwen joined UNE last fall after previously holding several leadership positions at Rutgers University and has thoroughly enjoyed immersing herself in UNE's culture, campus life, and traditions. Plus, she has the best academic regalia. Please join me in welcoming Provost Mahon to the podium. All right, good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Brenda, and thank you so much for your service to our Board of Trustees. Good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure to participate in this campus's time-honored tradition of celebrating the exceptional accomplishments and character of Maine women leaders through the annual Deborah Morton Award. As Brenda mentioned, it has truly been my great joy to get to know this amazing university more deeply over the past half year or so. And one of the things that has impressed me the most about UNE is its ongoing commitment to the traditions and values upon which it and its forebear institutions were founded. This event exemplifies UNE's appreciation for its roots and continuity as it evolves. Gathering like this to celebrate our newest Deborah Morton Society awardees allows us to reflect on the remarkable contributions of our state's women leaders through the years. And it ensures that our proud Westbrook lineage remains top of mind as new generations of women come to UNE to gain the skills and knowledge they will need to play leadership roles in the world. Accordingly, I'd like to say a few words to focus our attention on the former Westbrook student and then faculty member after whom this award is named. Deborah Morton was an unparalleled female leader, and her legacy resonates across this campus and throughout Maine to this day. At a time when the social expectations for women were very different than they are now, Miss Morton was a scholar, a leader, a reformer, a mentor, a teacher, and an adventurer. She traveled the world and brought back knowledge and experiences to share with others, including her curious and appreciative students at Westbrook College. At a young age, Deborah entered Westbrook Seminary in the fall of 1876 and graduated as valedictorian of her class in 1879. She spent the next few years teaching in her hometown of Round Pond, Maine, before returning to Westbrook as a member of the faculty in 1884. She taught grammar, rhetoric, French, and algebra, demonstrating a remarkable command of a multitude of subjects, just as today's UNE students do, as they receive a background in the liberal arts coupled with expertise in their chosen discipline. The very next year, in 1885, Miss Morton was named Westbrook College's preceptress. For the next 3 decades, she spent the school year shaping women's lives, then spent her summer overseas exploring Europe and the Middle East while refining her foreign language skills, much in the way many young women of UNE do today in their study abroad endeavors through our global education program. In 1917, with a pandemic and World War looming, Miss Morton took a leave of absence from teaching to more fully engage in civic life, serving as president of the Women's Literary Union and as an active member of the YWCA War Council. Eventually, she returned to Westbrook to resume teaching French into the 1940s. After her retirement, the Deborah Morton Award was established in 1961 to recognize Maine women who have distinguished themselves through their work, public service, and leadership in civic, cultural, and social causes. The example set by Deborah Morton provides keen insight and seems so very relevant in our lives today. In our dynamic, polarized world, we must keep learning. We must continue to grow, and we must engage in experiences that challenge our own assumptions, just as today's UNE students do through our many campus events designed to immerse them in a marketplace of ideas. The University of New England is incredibly proud to have inspirational leaders like Deborah Morton in its institutional history. Indeed, Miss Morton's pioneering spirit is wired into our UNE DNA. And we continue each year with the tradition of celebrating Maine's women leaders in her honor. At this time, I would like to welcome to the podium Gilda Nardone, a Westbrook College graduate herself and chair of the Deborah Morton Society Steering Committee.
Thank you, Provost Mahone, and good morning, everyone. And a special shout out to any other Westbrook alum who are in the audience. Indeed, Deborah Morton was an inspiration to her classmates, students, colleagues, and the women of Maine. And it is a great privilege for my fellow steering committee members and me to play the role we do in facilitating each year's ceremony. As we narrow down each year's list of prospective awardees, we're always amazed by the wealth of women leaders in this state, all doing incredible things to improve the lives of their fellow citizens and their communities. I have to think Deborah Morton would be quite proud of the movement she helped create. And I am proud of the fact that we continue to help the young women of today fulfill their educational and professional dreams through the Deborah Morton Endowed Scholarship Fund at UNE. Since its establishment in 1974, this fund has provided more than 80 Maine women with critical financial aid so they can pursue degrees in healthcare fields at UNE. The scholarship is awarded to 2 freshman women who come to UNE from Maine high schools. This scholarship follows them throughout their 4 years of undergraduate studies at the university. They may major in any of UNE's programs such as applied exercise science, athletic training, dental hygiene, health, wellness and occupational studies, nursing, nutrition, pre-pharmacy, social work, and public health. These are essential fields to the health of Maine and its people, and the women who gain mastery of them during their time here emerge ready to do their part. I am grateful that we can play the role we do in helping them along their way. When we invest in the next generation of women leaders, we all benefit in the present and throughout their careers. It is now my pleasure to turn over the podium to the president of the University of New England, Dr. James Herbert.
Thank you, Gilda, so much. And thanks also to Gwen and Brenda for your warm introduction and those remarks. And what a pleasure it is to look around the room and see so many friends, including some that I see every day and work with, but also several people who I haven't seen in a while. And it's just so nice to see you all. So thank you for taking the time to come out and join us this morning. This does mark the 61st year that the stewards of this campus have gathered to remember Miss Morton and to celebrate the state's contemporary women heroes. And I suspect 6 decades from now, people will still be gathering right here on this campus to remember this society's namesake and to look admiringly upon the latest women who will carry on this tradition. As Gilda mentioned, we're truly fortunate to have so many accomplished women leaders here in Maine, some of whom you've just heard from. And the work of pouring through the credentials of the nominees to identify the most deserving of this award is no small task. As such, I'd like to begin by thanking the members of the Deborah Morton Steering Committee for their work. These individuals spend countless hours each year reviewing the accomplishments of and ultimately nominating awardees who fulfill the exacting standards of the Society's guidelines. At this time, I'd like to recognize them. They are Ellie Baker, Brenda Garrand, Nancy Grant, Elizabeth McClellan, Gilda Nardone, Peggy Rotundo, Patricia Ryan, and Barbara Trafton. Friends, please stand so that we may acknowledge you. Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do to support this society and to support Maine more broadly. We're grateful for all of these women, and I would be remiss if I didn't offer a special acknowledgement to one individual who has truly gone above and beyond the ordinary call of duty over the last several years in service to the Deborah Morton Society, and that is Gilda Nardone. Gilda has been a member of the steering committee since 2017 and has served as its chair since 2020. So please join me in giving it up, offering one more round of applause to Gilda. Through the years, the Deborah Morton Society has honored more than 200 Maine women, and many of these past honorees are present today to help us celebrate this year's crop of new inductees. At this time, I invite all members of the Deborah Morton Society to please rise and be recognized. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'd also like to take a moment to remember 2 members of the Deborah Morton Society who have passed away since our last gathering. Sadly, Sherry Huber and Betsy Webb are no longer with us. Please join me in observing a moment of silence to reflect on their lives and to acknowledge their absence. Thank you. There are so many aspects of UNE that make me feel a special mix of pride and gratitude. And I know so many others in attendance this morning also feel that same sense of pride and gratitude when reflecting upon our amazing university. One of these points of pride is UNE's commitment to nurturing women leaders. The impact of this commitment can be felt in our Maine hospitals and clinics, where our graduates make us the #1 provider of healthcare professionals for the state. They can be felt in the Gulf of Maine, where our students and graduates play leadership roles in assessing and mitigating the effects of climate change. They can be felt in our makerspace, where our student innovators develop the skills and aptitudes to be successful inventors and entrepreneurs. And by the way, make sure to watch the Greenlight Maine Challenge coming up. One of our women students is a finalist in the coming Greenlight Maine Challenge. So be sure and watch that. They can also be felt throughout Maine's economy, which receives a steady influx of UNE graduates, especially prepared to meet the needs of today's dynamic workforce. At UNE, we go to great lengths to ensure the transformational education that we provide young people is accessible to all qualified Maine students. That includes students from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds, as well as students whose family members haven't previously pursued college degrees. As a first-generation college student myself, I know how important it is that we make a higher education available to students, many of whom are young women, for whom a college degree might otherwise be out of reach. Our message to them is that we are an inclusive and supportive community, and if they are hungry to learn and grow, there is a home for them at UNE. This commitment to inclusivity has deep historic roots, reaching all the way back when Westbrook Seminary first opened this campus in 1831 and began admitting women. Later, Westbrook College took up the mantle of educating and empowering women right here on these grounds. During times when American society tried to define women and limit what they could do, the women who filled the halls of this campus refused to follow the script. They studied hard and they flourished, just as the young people on UNE's Portland campus do today. I hope the Westbrook College and Westbrook Junior College alumni in attendance this morning will feel a connection to today's UNE students. If you're a Westbrook alum, please stand so we may recognize you. Thank you, and thank you for coming. As women who have led successful careers in various fields, you have blazed paths for our students to follow, and we're lucky to have you as part of the larger UNE family. I hope you will agree that the historic look and feel of our Westbrook landscape remain. At the same time, today's campus also provides students with access to the latest technology and equipment related to their fields. The construction project underway next door represents our latest investment in our campus facilities, an investment that ensures that the students it educates, will thrive for decades to come. The Harold and Bibby Alphon Center for Health Sciences will allow for the relocation of our College of Osteopathic Medicine from Biddeford, creating right here on this campus an integrated health sciences campus here in Portland that is unique in all of New England. United, our various healthcare profession programs on a single footprint will create additional opportunities for students to learn and to work in teams, a practice known as interprofessional education, which has been shown to produce improved outcomes for patients. At the same time, the relocation of our medical students will free up space, desperately needed space, so that we can expand our undergraduate programs on our Biddeford campus. After today's ceremony and luncheon, be sure to take a mental picture of that project as it currently exists, so that when you return next spring, or hopefully even sooner, you can track just how much progress has been made since today. So at this time, and by the way, if you hear jackhammers going out there, that's the sound of progress. I love it. So at this time, I'd like to turn our attention to the three remarkable women that we're gathered to honor today. All three have made tremendous impacts on Maine and are going to make wonderful additions to the Deborah Morton Society. I've asked members of the Board of Trustees to assist in sharing their names. Our first trustee to do so is Sherry Walker. Sherry?
Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it is my pleasure to present 2023 Deborah Morton Society Award recipient, Kathie Leonard.
Oh,
I'm going to do it first, and then you. Give me 1 second. No, stand right. No. Right there. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Kathie Leonard moved to Maine from Florida in 1974 and has lived in the Auburn area ever since. While working in a textile mill in Lewiston shortly after her arrival in the state, Kathie learned about the manufacturing of technical fibers and textiles. She also studied business administration at the University of Maine. The skills and knowledge she gained here in the Pine Tree State propelled her to a long and successful career as owner and chief executive officer of Auburn Manufacturing. This woman-owned company, which Kathie founded in 1979 and still leads today, produces heat and fire-resistant textile products for industrial, defense-related, and institutional applications throughout the U.S., and also globally to more than 30 countries. In recognition of her prominence in Maine, Kathie has held numerous board, committee, and chair positions through the years, including for EXIM Bank, the National Council of Textile Organizations, Advanced Functional Fabrics of America, the Maine Community College System, and Central Maine Healthcare. Kathie has received the Maine Governor's Award for Excellence, the Small Business Administration Small Business Person of the Year Award, Maine Biz Magazine's Business Leader of the Year Award, and the Maine International Trade Center's Maine Exporter of the Year Award. Please join me in honoring Kathie M. Leonard.
Thank you.
Now you get it.
I really just want to sit down. He did such a good job. I think you read my speech. It's so good to be here. It's so much fun. This is like a wonderful, like a cocktail party that I never get to have anymore, doing this. So when my friend and awardee of 2015, Barbara Trafton, here in the front row, called to ask if I would like to be nominated for this award, I didn't think I had a snowball's chance in Hades of being chosen. The names on the list of those 200 are those who, like Barbara, give of themselves to their communities and their country. Senator Peggy Rotundo, U.S. Senator Olympia Snow, Governor Janet Mills, etc. I'm just a business owner, a capitalist. But I have a hard time saying no to Barbara, and I'm sure you do too. So here I am, and I'm very glad to be here. After receiving the news that I was chosen as one of the 3 awardees of this year, I began reading up on the legacy of Deborah Morton, and am very honored to be chosen to have a chance to tell you about my background. I think there's some similarities to some extent, about that much. Yes, I'm a business owner that started a textile manufacturing company in Mechanic Falls, Maine. That's right outside Auburn, 43 years ago. That sounds like I planned it all out. It didn't happen that way. It just happened. I was raised by my mom, a Cuban immigrant, who was my inspiration to be a business person. A brilliant but struggling musician, she cobbled together a living by teaching piano, tutoring Spanish, she choir director, and even selling pianos and organs, along with performing in public as often as possible. While her passion was music, and she was a wonderful musician, she encouraged me to go into business, not music. And I'm not so sure why. It wasn't just because she wanted me to make a better living for myself, but I think it's also that I don't have that much talent in music. She tried to teach me piano, and it didn't work so well. So I was a decent student. I was a decent high school student and was awarded a full scholarship to a junior college, St. Petersburg Junior College in St. Petersburg, Florida, by the Gulfport Women's Coterie. I didn't even know what coterie meant at that time. So grateful for that. It changed my life. It enabled me to go to college. I would have just gone on and taken a job anywhere. In fact, I worked all through high school anyway. So when I went to St. Petersburg Junior College, I studied technical writing. They recommended that I do that because I was pretty good at math and I like to write. In fact, I wanted to be a journalist, not a technical writer. But I took all the classes that I could. I crammed in as much as I could in those 2 years to get it. And I got an associate in arts degree, thinking that, okay, someday I'll just go on to a 4-year school and finish up. But I also, in the last 2 semesters, I took secretarial courses because I thought, at least I can get a good job if I can't afford to get into another college. So after graduating, I got that job as a secretary for the power company in St. Petersburg, Florida. And it was great, but I found I got bored after a couple of years. I needed some more of a challenge. In the meantime, I got married. I came here on my honeymoon and fell in love with Maine. It was the early 70s. We were sort of hippies, and we packed everything in a U-Haul trailer and moved up here in 1974 and came to the Lewis and Auburn area because we had family there. And next thing you know, I'm working at a textile mill as the secretary to the president. And, and it just turned out that all of a sudden I was working with technical fabrics. And what a great place to practice my technical writing and my love of marketing. So it all paid off. And here I started working at that textile mill working on technical textiles, learning how to market them to the industrial market. And that was back when asbestos got banned. So there was just a surge of demand for these technical products. And I was just at the right place at the right time with the right background and the right help. I left there in 1979 with a partner to start my own business. And we began making and marketing these similar heat-resistant fabrics for heavy industry. It was 2 people, 1 machine, had to close down. We were in the upper level of the library building in Mechanic Falls. Don't blink if you go through Mechanic Falls and see the library building. It's this big. But we were on the 2nd floor, and we had to shut down every Wednesday so they could, when the library was open. But our timing was great. We had a great time doing it, and we grew. Today, we have 2 plants, one in Mechanic Falls and one in Auburn. They're 7 miles apart. We have about 55 people now. That's the most we've ever had. We've hovered around 50 for many years. And here, as was said, we have hundreds of customers throughout the world. It's just amazing. My partner retired in 2000, and so I've been the sole owner for 23 years. So now I feel like I really have, I own it now. I am the only owner, and it's okay. I didn't know if I could do that at that 23 years ago, but here I am. I'm still standing. Before my mom passed away, she basked in delight at my success. She would call my company with her wonderful Spanish accent and say, "I want to talk to the presidente." Everybody loved her. It hasn't been easy sailing over those 43 years. Being a woman running an industrial business is still not commonplace. But like my mom, I persevered and eventually earned my stripes. Like this. And thanks to a lot of people here in Maine who did accept me, and even though I wasn't a Mainer. And of course, my husband, Steve Lunt, who is here, who's always believed I could do it. Thank you very much. I probably wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't be here if he didn't have that sort of confidence in me. But without community and family, I wouldn't be here today. Again, I am so grateful for this moment and this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathie, so much. That was very inspiring. Do you still speak Spanish? Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah, that's why I just do industrial stuff.
Like I said, we could continue the rest of the ceremony in Spanish if you wanted to. So, and don't apologize for being a capitalist. It's a good thing. We're all, sorry, don't mean to get political here. Thank you so much. So if I can ask Brenda to come back to the podium.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it's my pleasure to present 2023 Deborah Morton Society Award to Melissa Smith.
Melissa Smith grew up on a farm in Wen, Maine, before earning a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Maine in 1991. Today, she is the chair Chief Executive Officer and President of WEX, a payment processing and information management services company headquartered right here in Portland. Before rising to her present position in the company, Melissa filled a variety of other leadership roles at WEX, including Global President and President of the Americas. She also served as Chief Financial Officer during the company's initial public offering in 2005. She has been CEO since 2014 and Chair since 2019. In these various positions, Melissa has continually driven WEX's growth, both organically and through acquisitions. Under her leadership, revenue has more than doubled, and WEX has substantially diversified, moving from a primarily U.S.-based, fleet-centric business to a global enterprise with offices in 14 countries and more than 5,500 employees worldwide. In addition to leading a highly successful company, Melissa is an active participant in her community and sits on the boards of Maine Health and Equifax. She was named to PYMNT.com's Most Innovative Women in Payments list in 2014 and was named to one of Payment Source's Most Influential Women in Payments in 2014, 2019, and 2021. Melissa has provided a wonderful example for the young women of Maine through her leadership of a thriving international company based right here in our state, and we are pleased to welcome her to the Deborah Morton Society today. Melissa? Thank you.
So, thank you. Thank you, President Herbert, fellow honorees, members of the Board of Trustees, members of the Deborah Morton Society, and all the Deborah Morton scholars. So I just start out with a huge dose of gratitude as I'm starting my day today. I'm honored to be here. You talked about my background, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I grew up in a farm, working farm, about 3.5 hours north of here. One of the rites of passage when you actually grew up in a farm, at least our farm, was the fact you actually had to drive the hay truck when you got to be old enough to see over the steering wheel, which is somewhere between 10 and 11. And my mother really took to heart this idea that she was raising young adults. One of the benefits of being in that position is it also teaches you a lesson of accountability. When you're driving the hay truck, it's got a tricky brake, and if you pop the clutch in a pretty poor way, you drop off the hay in the back, and your job is to go pick it up. So Mom's mantra, and my mom is sitting right there. My mom's mantra was always, why not? And when I think about that mantra, which she was really teaching us, and she had 3 daughters that she was raising to be ridiculously independent. My sister Heidi is here also. She was trying to push us to do new things. And she wanted to make sure if there wasn't a legitimate reason, if you didn't have a really good excuse, and sometimes the narrative would be like why you can't do something, my mother's pushback was always, why not? And the way I think about that is she was trying to make sure that we knew that we could do hard things. And she ingrained in this idea that has become part of me. It's part of actually how I think about the company, that we can do hard things. It's something that has followed every part of my life. And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for her for instilling that in me. And I'm hoping my 3 kids are here and doing a great job. Foster, thanks for the wave. Baxter and Grace, I hope that we instilled that in them as well. And it helped me when I made the leap to go to work for WEX. WEX at that point in time, which was a long time ago, but 1997 had just started making money. It was $50 million in revenue. So it was a pretty big leap for going from this nice secure job in public accounting to that. And then from there, a lot of my career choices were non-traditional for women. To be the CFO when we went public, I would go into lots of rooms where I was the only woman, and still today. And I became the CEO in 2014. I still go in a lot of rooms where I'm the only woman. And when I first became pregnant in 2014 with Baxter, it was the first woman who was running a publicly traded company that had become pregnant. And again, it was in 2014. So, yeah, I feel like this motto of why not, is at the essence of Deborah Morton. And so I've read about her. Think about what a trailblazer that she was. She did things in a period of time in a way that no or very few women would have. And I think that a lot of the success I've had in life, I think has started from how we were taught growing up. It's also a lot of luck that happens along the way. And I am incredibly fortunate for the people that I work with at WEX, and I work with amazing people. A lot of them are here today. And my husband, Brian Cochran, who is my partner in raising these children and having this wonderful life that we've built together. But again, when I get back to Deborah Morton, the women that are being honored here today, the commonality of the women that is sitting in this crowd have chosen to do things that are hard. And we've chosen to not take the easy path and have the grit to work our way through it. And I think that's really at the essence of what this was about. So, every time a woman hits on a glass ceiling, if they do it well, and I want to thank all the women who have done that before me, it opens the door a little bit more for you and allows us to be a little bit bigger and to do a little bit more for the people that are going to follow us. And I am incredibly grateful for that. And I just want to say a big thank you to, again, everybody here, everybody in the room, my coworkers, my family, my friends, and the community. I feel incredibly grateful to live in the Portland community because I feel like it's small enough that we can pull together and do just amazing things together. So thank you. Thank you for all of this.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Those really such an inspiring story. Thank you. I now call upon Trustee Fran Gerard to present today's final Deborah Morton Award candidate.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it's my pleasure to present 2023 Deborah Morton Society Award recipient, Cynthia Milliken Taylor.
Cynthia J. Milliken Taylor grew up in rural Maine before leaving home to attend the Rhode Island School of Design. She returned to the state after graduating to work at the Maine Housing Authority as an architectural representative. While there, she partnered with contractors, developers, architects, and engineers, and also had the opportunity to learn finance. Eventually, Cynthia decided to focus on development so she could continue helping people in need of housing. And boy, do we have that need today in this area. After serving as vice president of Wishcamper Properties, she founded the Housing Initiatives of New England Corporation in 1990. The company's goal is to provide the highest quality, affordable living experience for retirees. This nonprofit housing and development company has created more than 30 developments over the past 3 decades, serving countless senior citizens across Maine and New Hampshire. These projects feature the most energy-efficient facilities that can be built with the latest technology to ensure that they have as minimal an environmental impact as possible. Through Housing Initiatives of New England and her extensive public service, including her dedicated service on the UNE Board of Trustees, where she was very helpful, Cynthia has done so much for the people of Maine, and it's our privilege to acknowledge her today.
Hello, everyone. And to the honoraries here that are authentic leaders. And thank you, President James Herbert, the UNE board members, faculty, students, guests, family members. for this opportunity to share the small thesis of life in service to others. I am grateful to be here. I've had the most gratifying career that I could have imagined. At the age of 12, I knew I wanted to be an architect and be in design. Upon entering Rhode Island School of Design, I was in the 1% of my class. That was 1% women and 99% men. By the second year I was there, they decided they should at least admit 10% women. So it was a fabulous honor to be creative and work with men. It was an education where we were given an assignment, and the professors knew you had to work day and night to complete it. This was training that was considered necessary to compete in the profession, where in order to be creative and solve problems and be technically competent and to have a building built, you had to work tirelessly. That training has paid large dividends. While at RISD, I decided that urban planning was a great interest of mine. Having grown up in rural Maine, where I thought everyone needed 200 acres to live on, I found in my travels, it was very rural then. I found in my travels that New York City seemed to be much more interesting. At that time, Atlanta and San Francisco were building subway systems. New York was designing a new line in the area of Wall Street and 2nd Avenue. 2nd Avenue subway has just been completed after 40 years. After taking courses in socially responsible housing, medical facilities, museums, I decided to enroll in a class with the New York City planners about urban design. It was fascinating to learn how buildings meet streets and people are transported through a city. This led me to my thesis on a mixed-use building, which would be a terminal for the 2nd Avenue subway. I then arranged to be an exchange student at the University of California in Berkeley for a semester in order to study and observe firsthand the newly designed and built BART system, Bay Area Rapid Transit. This time was well spent. I returned to Providence to complete my thesis. I am proud to say, again, I was 1% in my class. I received honors for my thesis. That is all to say that in leadership, you have to examine the world around you and know how to creatively research and solve problems, especially three-dimensionally. This is how we build communities. There are many steps that lead one to their destination, and I had much to learn. And working in a couple of design firms, I needed more on-the-job training. I had returned to Maine a few years after graduating, and an opportunity to go to work at Maine Housing Authority as their architectural representative was presented to me. The economy was depressed at that time. Interest rates were 14 to 16%, not unlike where we're headed now, and it seemed like a place that was on the move. Governor Curtis had gone to Yale and recruited several very bright people to run a new housing authority. Maine was receiving more money for affordable housing than any other state in the Northeast. I not only got to work with many teams of contractors, developers, architects, and engineers in the state, but I had the opportunity to learn housing finance. Fast forward, I left the agency with 3 job offers: a developer, a contractor, and an architectural partnership. I chose to go into development because I wanted to continue helping people who need housing, and because, again, it was a great mentoring opportunity. I was the vice president of Wishcamper Properties, working with Joe Wishcamper. He was an admirable mentor. He was so successful, and we were developing housing in Maine, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. This experience was extraordinary and valuable, for the time came for me to step out. I decided that there were 2 vitally important things to me: designing buildings and helping older people. I am passionate about both. I established Housing Initiatives of New England Corporation, a nonprofit housing and development corporation, in 1990, with a strong board made up of housing people from accountants, lawyers, and social workers. I again had the mentors I needed. After leading this organization for 33 years, I am proud of the portfolio we have built, but even more proud of all the senior residents we have helped along the way. Today, with a wonderful group of people, we have over 30 developments serving a countless number of seniors across Maine and New Hampshire. And we have partnered with Maine General Hospital to provide a licensed assisted living facility in a significant historic building in Augusta. It's called the Inn at City Hall. We have the most energy efficient buildings with solar systems and sophisticated building systems that can be built within today's technology. We have made it a huge point to change our buildings to meet today's demands for energy. We have built great partnerships in great buildings. It has never been our goal to build the most units possible, but rather to provide the highest quality, affordable living experience that older retirees can enjoy. We foster a caring environment, and we creatively fill their needs. I've been extremely fortunate in my career. When the financial resources have been limited, I found creative ways to bring new resources. I have been so lucky, and these resources have been employed. When a community needs something, we find a way. When our residents need something, we help them. As I continue to create new buildings in new communities, I love to improve on each and every one. And now I like to say, when I create the perfect senior community, I will move in. Thank you all. This is such a true pleasure to be here today and to be affiliated with these wonderful people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you very much. Awardees, on behalf of the UNE Board of Trustees and the Deborah Morton Society Steering Committee, please accept my most sincere congratulations into your induction into the Deborah Morton Society. So today's ceremony has been, as it always is, an important reminder of the incredible talent and power embodied by Maine's women. We're lucky to have so many women like you working for the people of our state, and I just thank all of you for everything that you do. So I hope everyone will stay with us for a luncheon, which will begin in the back of this room after the platform party leaves the stage. And thank you all for joining us in the celebration and for continuing the legacy of the Deborah Morton Society. Thank you.